Sixth, extinction. It may seem like a wild idea, but scientists widely agree that we are indeed going through a mass extinction event right now. The Holocene extinction, also known as the Anthropocene extinction, is characterized by the ongoing loss of numerous plant and animal species at a rate that is estimated to be 100 to 1,000 times higher than the natural background extinction rates. This event is caused mainly by human activities such as overhunting, habitat loss, deforestation, and overfishing, among others. While some may find the idea of a mass extinction happening in our lifetime to be surreal or unbelievable, the evidence is clear. Abaka Alignment. The idea of intelligent beings constructing structures on the lunar surface may seem far-fetched, but the evidence captured by Luna 9 and Orbiter 2 is hard to ignore. Two separate groups of solid structures arranged in geometric patterns were photographed by these probes. The circular stones in the Ocean of Storms resemble markers along an airport runway, while the spires in the Sea of Tranquility cast shadows resembling those of Cleopatra's Needle and the Washington Monument. Russian and American scientists have differing estimates of the height and size of these structures, but both agree that they seem to have been placed there deliberately by intelligent beings. The Russian scientists even suggest that these objects may have been erected long ago by extraterrestrial life forms who visited the moon. While the American space officials have chosen not to publicize these findings, the Russian scientists have been openly investigating the mysterious moon objects. They have also been collecting evidence of extraterrestrial life forms having visited our planet, such as metallic discs found in caves and early Christian wall paintings that appear to show angels in spaceships. The possibility of extraterrestrial influence on the moon was also suggested by Dr. Carl Sagan, who speculated that intelligent beings from elsewhere in the universe may have bases on the averted side of our moon. The question remains, are these structures on the moon ancient markers originally erected by alien space travelers for guidance of later arrivals? The mysteries of the lunar surface continue to baffle us. Ashtar Command. The Ashtar Command, a movement that originated from the messages of an alleged extraterrestrial being named Ashtar, has been the subject of much speculation and fascination over the years. Its founder, George Van Tassel, played a significant role in promoting the movement, which was based on the idea that humans have the power to tap into the universal mind of God to facilitate their evolution. Van Tassel claimed to have received messages from Ashtar via telepathic communication, which he shared with others through weekly channeling sessions at Giant Rock in California. These gatherings coalesced the scattered contactee subculture into a recognizable movement and led to the annual Giant Rock spacecraft convention organized by Van Tassel, which became the most successful and well-known UFO meeting center of the time. As the movement evolved, the concept of Ashtar and a galactic law enforcement agency preparing an imminent rescue of humanity became well established, and various well-known esoteric channelers of the era incorporated it into their teachings. However, with the public failure of these predictions, the movement fractured and experienced disappointment. By the mid-1990s, several of these channeling groups began to utilize the internet to promulgate their beliefs and to attempt to unify the movement by establishing a single, authoritative source for all Ashtar messages. This led to a more prominent and cohesive response that addressed the problem of conflicting, negative, and failed prophecies. The new framework claimed that the millions of spaceships believed to be constantly in the vicinity of Earth would never interfere on the planet's surface unless there was a serious problem such as a Third World War or an astrophysical catastrophe. The emergent group was noticeably more spiritually focused and less concerned with extraterrestrial spaceships and visitors. The movement also claimed that in future no new channels would be accepted unless they operated on the level of the soul, complying with a set of 12 guidelines outlining what the movement stood for and how Ashtar would interact with society. This had never been attempted before in the 45 years of channeling Ashtar, who was also presented as a divine figure similar to Jesus. The Pioneer Voyage, a significant component of the Ashtar worldview, was incorporated in 1994. It claimed that a small group of Ashtar Command members had participated in an extraordinary event known as the Liftoff Experience. They communicated via the Ashtar network that they had been placed aboard the ships of light that were circling the planet. The Galactic Fifth Fleet had used physical vibrational transfer to raise the human consciousness and transfer it to the light ships. The group claims that the purpose of the liftoff is for the ascension of the human race as a whole, aided by large electronic grids deployed around the planet by the Guardian ships. Despite an increase in complexity, the general themes have remained in accordance with the Australian reports. The events are said to be occurring on a spiritual or etheric dimension and not a physical one. Blackbird of Chernobyl. The Blackbird of Chernobyl, a terrifying creature with giant wings, a headless body, and red glowing eyes, was allegedly seen in the days leading up to the Chernobyl disaster. Workers in the control room claimed to have seen the creature and were plagued by terrifying dreams and threatening phone calls. Some believe it to be a form of the Mothman, a creature known to herald catastrophic events. The Chernobyl disaster and legends surrounding it continue to captivate and grow. Broders Engine. This is an alleged revolutionary invention that harnesses energy directly from gravity, a theoretical device that can power an entire city using only the force of gravity. This technology is said to work like a shake light, utilizing a copper coil around a magnet to generate electricity, but Broders Engine takes it to the next level. By combining 1,000 of these shake lights on one side of a long lever, 3 magnets can power a tipper that tips the lever over to electrolyze the coils, and the other 997 coils give energy. Now imagine this on a massive scale, like a warehouse-sized engine. The potential for this technology is enormous and could change the world as we know it. We may never know. Cameraheads. The mysterious story of Cameraheads began with a discovery made by a person while walking through a gully. The person found a stack of rocks, a torn envelope, and a mini-DV video cassette that contained a disturbing clip. The note inside the envelope was written in ash or charcoal and contained the phrases, "I killed a camerahead," "It took Trevor," and "Get help if I don't come back." The person uploaded the contents of the cassette to YouTube and then went silent. Cameraheads became the first creepypasta to be detailed on the Paranormal Board's wiki/x/Enopedia in 2009. Over time, interest in the site waned, and it eventually shut down, causing all media posted on the site, including Cameraheads, to go missing. For years, the story seemed lost until a 4chan user posted a link to a video related to the creepypasta in a thread discussing lost media. The video, titled Camerahead, was uploaded to YouTube in 2009 by a user named Kochikov. The finding of the 4chan thread confirmed that the video was part of the creepypasta. However, for many years after its disappearance, people believed that the Cameraheads creepypasta was far more extensive than it actually was. Some believed that there was additional content, including cursed images and videos from the mini-DV tape, and documents of the Cameraheads' previous victims. It has since been proven that any such additional material does not exist. The Camerahead creatures themselves would go on to gain popularity as an example of a cryptid, but any material created about them in this regard is entirely disconnected from the initial post. The mystery of Cameraheads remains, leaving many to wonder about the truth behind the note, the mini-DV tape, and the creatures themselves. COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO remains one of the most controversial and enigmatic operations in the history of the United States. From 1956 to 1971, the FBI conducted a covert program aimed at disrupting and discrediting political organizations deemed subversive by the government. The program's tactics ranged from surveillance and infiltration to psychological warfare and even assassination. The targeted groups were diverse and included feminist organizations, anti-war activists, civil rights and black power movements, environmentalist and animal rights organizations, and even white supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan. COINTELPRO's objectives were to prevent violence, protect national security, and maintain the existing social and political order. The program's most high-profile targets were leaders of the Black Panther Party and the Civil Rights Movement, including Martin Luther King Jr. The FBI used a range of tactics against these leaders, including wiretapping, bugging, perjury, witness harassment, witness intimidation, and withholding of exculpatory evidence. In some cases, leaders were assassinated, imprisoned, or falsely charged with crimes. COINTELPRO's legacy is controversial, with some arguing that it was necessary to protect national security and prevent violence, while others view it as an egregious violation of civil liberties and human rights. The program is believed to have continued beyond its official termination in 1971, with some of its tactics allegedly still in use today. Coral Castle. Coral Castle is a mysterious structure built by Edward Leedskalnin using huge stones, each weighing several tons, sculpted into a variety of shapes. Legends surrounding its creation claim it was built using reverse magnetism or supernatural abilities. Leedskalnin spent over 28 years building it, refusing to let anyone see him work. He named it Rockgate and later moved it to its current location. The castle remains a popular tourist attraction, with many books, magazines, and TV shows speculating about how Leedskalnin was able to construct it and move the massive stones. The bizarre aspects of Coral Castle include the unexplained methods used by Leedskalnin to build it and the legends surrounding his supposed supernatural abilities. Deep Sea Lab Techs. Sea Lab 1, 2, and 3 were experimental underwater habitats developed by the U.S. Navy in the 1960s to test the viability of saturation diving and humans living in isolation for extended periods of time. Sea Lab I proved successful in showing that saturation diving in the open ocean was viable, but the experiment was halted after 11 days due to an approaching tropical storm. Sea Lab 2 was nearly twice as large as Sea Lab 1 and had more facilities, including hot showers, a built-in toilet, and laboratory equipment. Aquanaut, former astronaut Scott Carpenter, remained below for a record 30 days, but the mission had some bizarre aspects, such as using a bottlenose dolphin named Tuffy from the U.S. Navy Marine Mammal Program to ferry supplies between divers. Sea Lab 3 was a disaster, with strange failures occurring at the very start of operations, leading to one death and the program coming to a halt. During the decompression of the divers, repeated attempts were made to sabotage their air supply by someone aboard the command barge. Although aspects of the research continued, no new habitats were built, and the Sea Lab B3 habitat was eventually scrapped. DMT Beings. The phenomenon of DMT elves is one of the most perplexing and intriguing topics in the realm of psychedelics. People who consume enough of this powerful hallucinogen often report encountering beings that exist in a reality separate from our own. While the form and nature of these beings vary, the encounters are often described as some of the most meaningful experiences of people's lives, sometimes leading to lasting changes in their beliefs about reality, the afterlife, and God. A recent survey sheds some light on these experiences, revealing that encounters with DMT entities often produce an emotional response and feel more real than reality itself. Most people believe the beings are real, existing in a different dimension or reality, and describe them as conscious, intelligent, benevolent, and sacred. Interestingly, most people receive a message during the encounter, ranging from personal insights to practical advice. Despite the bizarre nature of these encounters, many people report lasting improvements in well-being and life satisfaction. This has led some researchers to suggest that DMT could show promise as an adjunct to therapy for mood and behavioral problems such as depression and addiction. The question of whether DMT entities actually exist or are merely hallucinations is still up for debate. While some believe that the beings are real and exist in alternate realities, others argue that they are projections of the subconscious mind or access to archetypes embedded in the human psyche. Regardless of the answer, the power of these experiences cannot be denied. For those who encounter them, the DMT elves provide a doorway to profound insights and meaningful transformation. Door dogs. Door dogs, small canines that appear as omens of death, have long been a subject of fascination and fear. While their origins are often attributed to West African folklore, their sightings have spread throughout the world, leaving many to question their true nature and purpose. Some believe that door dogs are simply ghostly omens, a warning of impending doom for those who see them. Others speculate that they are the servants of Neferti, an undead eunuch from the prophecies of Neferti, as interpreted by William S. Burroughs in his book, The Western Lands. Burroughs, who spent time in Tangiers and wrote extensively about door dogs, also drew on European traditions of omen dogs, such as the black shuck and the daisy dog. He saw door dogs as a mix of different traditions and sightings, creating a new form of cryptid that has taken on a life of its own. Despite the mystery surrounding their existence, door dogs continue to be sighted in the weeks leading up to a person's death, always appearing when the person is passing through a threshold. They are described as small and silent, with pointed noses like a schipperke, and are only visible to others. No one can see their own door dog before they die. Some have even drawn connections between door dogs and the wall-jumping dog, a bizarre cryptid that bears a striking resemblance to this creature. Dropa Stones. The Dropa Stones, a set of alleged pseudo-archaeological artifacts, have remained a topic of controversy and fascination since they were first reported in 1962. According to the story, an archaeological expedition in the Bayan Har Mountains uncovered 716 granite discs with hieroglyph-like markings, along with star maps and mummies with thin bodies and large heads. Chinese archaeologists and linguists supposedly translated the markings and concluded that they were carved by extraterrestrials following a crash landing in the region 12,000 years ago. However, no record of the stones being displayed in any museum has been found, and many consider the tale to be a hoax. Despite this, the story has continued to evolve over time, with fictional details being added in more recent retellings. Some versions claim that several of the discs were shipped to Moscow and found to be electrical conductors that produced a humming sound when placed on a special turntable. Others describe the Dropa as a dwarfish indigenous people who originated from a planet in the Sirius constellation. However, many of the details of the story have been called into question. The original article in which the story first appeared credited a writer named Reinhard Wegemann, who cannot be found. No record exists of the Chinese archaeologists and linguists who supposedly translated the markings, and the names they were given may not even be real. The two stones supposedly seen by Austrian engineer Ernst Wegerer in 1974 may have been bi-discs, which are commonly found in the region and date back to 3000 BCE. Empty Internet. The internet has become an integral part of our lives, connecting us with people and information from all over the world. But what if the internet we know and love is not what it seems? What if, instead of a vibrant network of human interaction, it's really just a sterile wasteland controlled by artificial intelligence? This is the premise of Dead Internet Theory, a bizarre conspiracy theory that suggests the internet has been taken over by AI. It's a theory that's gaining traction online, with some users pointing to the prevalence of AI-generated content as evidence that there's no real human presence left on the web. Proponents of the theory argue that much of the content we see online is created using AI, and that even supposedly human-produced content is actually generated by bots. They suggest that a group of influencers on the payroll of corporations and the government are behind this takeover, with the ultimate goal of controlling our thoughts and manipulating us into buying things. While the theory is clearly far-fetched, it has struck a chord with some users who feel that the internet has become a bland and predictable place. They see the same conversations and cycles of outrage happening over and over, and wonder if there's anything left that's truly authentic. Of course, the reality is that the internet is still largely a place of human interaction, even if there are bots and AI-generated content out there. But the fact that this theory has gained any traction at all suggests that there's a deep-seated unease among some users about the direction the web is heading in. Endless elevators. Stories of these elevators extending deep into the earth, connecting to underground tunnels and caverns, have been passed down through generations of urban folklore. The most famous proponent of this idea was Richard Sharp Shaver, whose work in Amazing Stories magazine featured an underground world of ruins, reptilian creatures, and robots. The concept of endless elevators has a special hold in Japanese urban folklore, with the legend of the Elevator Game or Another World Game becoming well known in the English-speaking world. However, there are few explanations as to what this phenomenon could be. Theories range from exaggeration of pit depth, hoaxes and openings to unknown cave systems, secret military bases, ancient ruins, or even a hollow earth. Some believe that endless elevators could be an extreme or paranormal phenomenon, such as a wormhole or an entrance into another dimension or reality. Others suggest that it could be a cognitive space with symbolic meaning, as evidenced by the prevalence of this image in dreams. Accounts of endless elevators vary widely, from people claiming to have entered the underground world through secret elevators in abandoned buildings to those who have experienced the phenomenon in their dreams. Some stories are downright terrifying, with reports of cannibal sadists and rape. The Hypogeum, an enormous 3-level underground complex carved from living rock, is also connected to the legend of endless elevators. According to an August 1940 National Geographic article, it was once possible to walk underground from one end of Malta to the other, but all entrances were closed by the British government because of a tragedy. The tragedy was the disappearance of a school party who had entered the underground passages on a field trip and were never seen again. Faces of Belmez. In 1971, residents of a private house in Spain claimed that images of faces appeared spontaneously in the concrete floor of the house. The phenomenon has continued intermittently since then, with faces appearing and disappearing at irregular intervals, and has been frequently photographed by local newspapers and curious visitors. Many Belmez residents believe that the faces were not made by human hands, and some paranormal investigators have suggested that they are a thoughtographic phenomenon subconsciously produced by the deceased former owner of the house, Maria Gomez Camara. Skeptical researchers, however, have performed extensive tests on the faces and believe that they are fabrications, possibly created as part of a hoax. It is suspected that the Pereira family, who owned the house, may have perpetrated the hoax for financial gain. Reports of appearances in Belmez began on August 23, 1971, when Maria Gomez Camara claimed that a human face formed spontaneously on her concrete kitchen floor. Maria's husband, Juan Pereira, and their son, Miguel, destroyed the image with a pickaxe and laid new concrete. However, the Pereira family claimed that a new face formed on the floor. The mayor of Belmez was informed and forbade the destruction of the new face. Instead, the floor concrete was cut out and taken for study. Hellfire Club. In the 18th century, Britain and Ireland were home to several exclusive clubs for high society rakes, known as Hellfire Clubs. These clubs were rumored to be places where persons of quality could engage in immoral acts and were often involved in politics. The most notorious club was founded by Francis Dashwood and associated with Brookses. Despite the club's notoriety, their activities and memberships are still difficult to ascertain. Wharton's Hellfire Club, founded in London in 1718, was a satirical gentlemen's club that ridiculed religion and morality. Members, who called themselves devils, met on Sundays at various locations and came dressed as characters from the Bible. Their activities reportedly included mock religious ceremonies and partaking in meals featuring dishes with names such as Holy Ghost Pie and Breast of Venus, accompanied by Hellfire Punch. Wharton's club disbanded in 1721 after George I put forward a bill against horrid impieties aimed at the Hellfire Club, under the influence of Wharton's political enemies. Wharton went on to become a Freemason and the Grand Master of England. Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was a secret society dedicated to the study and practice of occult hermeticism and metaphysics in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The society was based on hierarchy and initiation, and was one of the largest single influences on 20th century Western occultism. The Golden Dawn had 3 orders. The first order taught esoteric philosophy, the second order taught magic, and the third order was that of the secret chiefs. The cipher manuscripts, the foundational documents of the original Order of the Golden Dawn, are written in English using the Trithemius cipher. The documents outline the grade rituals of the order and prescribe a curriculum of graduated teachings that encompass the Hermetic Kabbalah, astrology, occult tarot, geomancy, and alchemy. Westcott, Mathers, and Woodman founded the Golden Dawn, and women were admitted on an equal basis with men. The order established temples in London, Weston-super-Mare, Bradford, and Edinburgh. The order's activities included scrying, astral travel, and alchemy. The Golden Dawn's practices have inspired many present-day concepts of ritual and magic, including those found in Wicca and Thelema. However, much of the Order's history remains shrouded in mystery, and its full impact on Western occultism has yet to be fully understood. Himalayan Zombies. Rolangs, the zombie-like creatures of Tibetan folklore, have long been a source of fascination and terror for those who hear their tales. They are said to be created by Jidan spirits or sorcerers and cannot speak or bend over. Instead, they signal their victims by wagging their tongues back and forth. They walk with a stiff-armed lurch as they cannot bend any joints. In certain regions of Tibet, low doorways were constructed to keep the Rolangs out. There are two types of Rolangs, tantric and demonic. The former is raised from the dead through a ritual for personal reasons, while the latter is created by an evil spirit with the aim of contaminating other humans. The demonic Rolangs are independent and do not serve a master. They have the power to infect other humans by touching them on the head. Rolangs cannot be killed as they have already died, but they can be made to fall over. They can be classified into 5 vulnerabilities: skin zombie, blood zombie, flesh zombie, bone zombie, and mole zombie. The prefix of the name describes the vulnerability, and each type of Rolangs is listed in order of difficulty to defeat. Rolangs are unable to bend at the waist, and this weakness has been exploited in early Tibetan architecture, where low door frames were built to prevent Rolangs from entering buildings. According to American scholar and Tibetologist Terrell Wiley, Rolangs can be described in one of 3 storytelling formats: legendary, epidemic, and comatose. Legendary stories consist of incidents that occurred many years ago and have been told for centuries, while epidemic stories feature a Rolangs that rises and infects many people. Comatose stories take place at a definite location, a short time ago, and the Rolangs in these stories do not contaminate any people and are quickly dispatched. Old Tibetan medical practices were not always sufficient for determining if a person is truly dead. Rolangs in comatose stories have been described as having blue eyes instead of white, which is also a symptom of a person in a comatose state. It is believed that these people, rising from the dead, are actually just waking up from a comatose state. Hoia Baciu Forest. The Hoia Baciu Forest is a place of mystery and intrigue, where inexplicable events seem to occur with regularity. People have reported feeling an eerie presence and seeing ghostly apparitions within the forest. Some visitors have even claimed to have been abducted by aliens, taken to other worlds, and returned to Earth unscathed. Scientists have been studying the Hoia Baciu Forest for decades in an attempt to unravel the mysteries of this enigmatic place. They have found that the forest has unusually high levels of radiation, which could explain some of the strange phenomena that occur within its boundaries. However, the radiation levels are not high enough to explain all of the strange occurrences that have been reported. Many theories have been put forward to explain the unusual events in the Hoia Baciu Forest. Some people believe that the forest is home to a portal to another dimension or an alternate universe. Others think that the forest is haunted by the souls of the dead, or that it is the site of ancient pagan rituals. Despite the many theories and scientific studies, the true nature of the Hoia Baciu Forest remains a mystery. Introspection Rundown. The Introspection Rundown, created by L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, is a procedure that aims to handle a psychotic episode or a complete mental breakdown. It involves isolating the person completely, with all attendants muzzled, and administering frequent auditing sessions until the person is no longer looking inward worriedly without end. The rundown is considered a technical breakthrough that ranks with the major discoveries of the 20th century and is dubbed as miraculous by Hubbard himself. However, the Introspection Rundown came under public scrutiny after the death of Lisa McPherson in 1995. McPherson, a Scientology adherent, was put on the rundown after a car accident, but ended up being locked in a room for 17 days. Her appearance after death was that of someone who had been denied water and food for quite some time, being both underweight and severely dehydrated. Additionally, her skin was covered with over 100 insect bites, presumably from cockroaches. The church repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and now makes members sign a waiver before Introspection Rundown, specifically stating that they will not bring any legal action against the organization over injury or death. To administer the Introspection Rundown, a Scientologist requires an education in Scientology beliefs and practices, which include all the technical bulletins, all the Scientology books, and hundreds of hours of recorded lectures. The rundown is very precise and there must be no mistakes, or it can cause further introspection in the pre-clear. The supervisor must test the person's condition by writing a note, and the person's answer must show continued responsibility for the isolation to end. John Lawson House. The John Lawson House in New Hamburg, New York, has been the center of a strange and unsettling mystery for around 10 years. 3 life-size mannequins with changing clothes and hairstyles camped out on the porch, holding different props, such as a milk container holding scented leaves, an empty birdcage, toolboxes, and books. No one knows who put them there or what they represent, and no one ever saw anyone move them. The mysterious mannequins have led people to wonder whether the house is haunted or if the mannequins move on their own. The John Lawson House, built in 1845, is believed to be the oldest house in New Hamburg's Main Street Historic District, and its architecture reflects its age. However, what the nomination document did not articulate was the house's creepy history. John Lawson, the man who built the house, was a descendant of one of the first white colonist families to forcibly take over the area, making him a not-so-great person. Some believe that the mannequins or mannequin ghosts haunting the porch have something to do with 2 tragedies that occurred close to the house. One of the events happened in 1871, when a 25-car freight train derailed, landed on the northbound track, and struck a northbound passenger express train. The trains were carrying oil, causing a massive fire that killed 22 people. The crash happened only 200 feet from the John Lawson House. The second event was a fire that took out 7 buildings directly around the house in 1877. Many believe that the mannequins represented and were possessed by the spirits of those who died in these 2 events, with some facing the direction of the only other surviving historical house on the block. The mannequin's mysterious presence and potential haunting have left people still trying to figure out the who and the why of the mystery. Judaculla Rock. Judaculla Rock is a soapstone outcrop in western North Carolina known for its ancient petroglyphs and carvings, some of which remain a mystery. The densely packed motifs, difficult to distinguish amongst each other, include 1,458 cup marks, 47 curvilinear units, and 10 bowl-shaped depressions, among others. The petroglyph boulder also has ties to the Cherokee people and their slant-eyed master of game, Judaculla, and is believed to be a physical representation of the entire landscape they inhabited. While there are some possible dates for the petroglyphs, much about their meaning and purpose remains unknown, making Judaculla Rock a bizarre and unsolved topic. Carrie PT Man. The Twitter account belonging to Carrie is quite peculiar in the way that their tweets are structured. They appear to be erratic and unfocused, leaving the reader unsure of their intended meaning. Carrie tweets with a high frequency, often posting multiple messages in a single day. It is unclear what the motive behind these tweets is, but it is possible that Carrie is struggling with a mental health issue or influenced by drugs. Alternatively, they could be deliberately attempting to obscure the content of their messages. Another possibility is that Carrie's account is an automated program or an alternate reality game. Regardless of the cause, it is clear that Carrie's tweets are challenging to comprehend and don't seem to form coherent messages. Knights of the Golden Circle. The Knights of the Golden Circle was a secret society with a bizarre objective to create a new country where slavery would be legal. The Golden Circle would consist of the southern United States, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. While not truly a secret society, its members included alleged high-profile figures such as John Wilkes Booth, Jefferson Davis, and Jesse James. The KGC's legacy includes a mysterious hoard of gold coins believed to be buried across a dozen states to finance a second civil war. Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone. The Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone is an enigmatic artifact discovered in New Hampshire in 1872. The egg-shaped stone bears carved symbols, including an ear of corn and inverted arrows. The stone's purpose and origin remain unknown, with one theory suggesting it may commemorate a treaty between 2 tribes. The stone has been analyzed, and while it is made of quartzite, the drilled hole through it appears to have been made by modern power tools rather than prehistoric technology. Despite being on exhibit at the Museum of New Hampshire History, the mystery of the stone remains unsolved. Mayan Apocalypse Prophecy Shift. The 2012 phenomenon was a belief that cataclysmic events would occur on December 21, 2012, the end date of a 126-year-long cycle in the Mesoamerican long count calendar. Various astronomical alignments and numerological formulae were proposed, and a New Age interpretation held that Earth and its inhabitants would undergo a positive transformation. However, scholars from various disciplines quickly dismissed predictions of cataclysmic events. Despite this, the idea that 2012 marked the end of the world became a subject of popular media speculation as the date approached. Some conspiracy theories that have emerged around the 2012 phenomenon suggest that world governments and other powerful organizations knew of an impending cataclysmic event and attempted to cover it up or prepare for it in secret. Some theorists claim that the Mayan calendar predicted the arrival of extraterrestrial beings or a planet that would cause destruction on Earth. Others believe that the alignment of certain celestial bodies on December 21, 2012, would result in a catastrophic event. One popular conspiracy theory was the idea of a planet called Nibiru, or Planet X, which was believed to be on a collision course with Earth. However, no such planet was ever discovered, and astronomers have repeatedly dismissed the idea as pseudoscience. Another theory involved the idea of a massive solar flare or coronal mass ejection that would hit Earth, causing widespread destruction and chaos. While solar flares and coronal mass ejections can cause disruptions to satellites and power grids, there is no evidence to suggest that one could cause the end of the world. Mpemba Effect. The Mpemba Effect is a bizarre and unsolved phenomenon that has puzzled scientists for centuries. It is the observation that hot water can freeze faster than cold water under certain conditions. Although the phenomenon was first described by ancient scientists such as Aristotle, it was not until 1963 that it was popularized by Tanzanian schoolboy Erasto Bartolomeo Mpemba. Mpemba discovered that hot ice cream mix froze faster than cold mix in his cookery class, and later asked his physics teacher why this was the case. Despite numerous experiments, there is still disagreement about the theoretical basis of the Mpemba effect and the parameters required to produce it. Nibiru Cataclysm. The Nibiru Cataclysm, a supposed encounter between Earth and a massive planetary object, has captivated the imaginations of doomsday groups and conspiracy theorists for decades. The idea was first presented by Nancy Lieder, who claims to have been contacted by extraterrestrials from the Zeta Reticuli star system through an implant in her brain. Lieder warned that a planet-sized object called Nibiru, also known as Planet X, would sweep through the inner solar system in May 2003, causing a physical pole shift that would destroy most of humanity. Despite the lack of scientific evidence and rejection by astronomers and planetary scientists, the Nibiru Cataclysm has persisted in popular media, often linked to astronomical events such as Comet Ison or Planet 9. Various doomsday groups have cited their own dates for the object's return, including the previously mentioned December 21, 2012, which was the end of a cycle in the Maya calendar. Believers accuse NASA of deliberately covering up visual evidence of Nibiru's existence, including the supposed optical imaging of the object by the South Pole Telescope. However, the SPT is a radio telescope and cannot take optical images. Claims of Nibiru sightings in Google Sky have also been debunked, with the missing data due to a software error and the carbon star CW Leonis incorrectly claimed to be Nibiru. Oumuamua. Oumuamua is a bizarre interstellar object that passed through our solar system in 2017. It exhibited non-gravitational acceleration and had a rotation rate unlike any natural body. Despite being studied extensively, its true origin and nature remain unknown. Some astronomers have suggested that it could be a product of extraterrestrial technology, but there is insufficient evidence to support any hypotheses. Project Lyra was proposed in 2022 to launch a spacecraft to study it further. The object's name, Oumuamua, means scout, reflecting the way it is like a messenger sent from the distant past to reach out to humanity. Pygmy tunnels of Monte Alban. The Zapotec civilization in Mexico believed they were descended from trees, rocks, and jaguars. During an excavation in Monte Alban, archaeologists found a complex network of stone-lined tunnels that were too small for adults or children. The tunnels were not used for drainage or emergency escapes, and their purpose remains a mystery. Phantom kangaroos. Phantom kangaroo sightings have been reported worldwide, with explanations ranging from escaped zoo or circus animals to publicity stunts or mass hysteria. Feral red-necked wallabies have established colonies in France, New Zealand, and the UK after escaping from zoos. In the US, sightings of atypical kangaroos have been reported, including a kangaroo-like beast in Tennessee in 1934 that reportedly killed and partially devoured several animals, and a rash of kangaroo sightings in 1974 across Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. Red mercury. Red mercury is a mythical substance that was claimed to be used in the creation of nuclear weapons, but was most likely a hoax perpetrated by con artists to take advantage of gullible buyers on the black market for arms. Its exact nature is uncertain, and despite claims that it could do almost anything, all samples analyzed have proven to be well-known, common substances of no interest to weapons makers. Red mercury was offered for sale throughout Europe and the Middle East by Russian businessmen who found many buyers who would pay almost anything for the substance, even though they had no idea what it was. Although it was claimed to be a shortcut to fissionable or fusible materials, none of these claims appear to be scientifically or historically supportable. The exact nature of the substance remains a mystery. Rudolph Fentz. The mysterious case of Rudolph Fentz has long been a source of fascination for those intrigued by the possibility of time travel. The story, which originated as a work of science fiction by Jack Finney, has since been reported as an urban legend, with many claiming that it is based on actual events. According to the legend, in 1951, a man named Rudolph Fentz was found wandering in the middle of Times Square. He appeared to be confused and disoriented, dressed in the style of the late 19th century. Before anyone could intervene, he was struck by a taxi and killed. Upon searching his pockets, officials found several items that appeared to be from another era, including old banknotes, a copper token, and a bill for the care of a horse and carriage. Business cards bearing Fentz's name and an address on Fifth Avenue were also discovered, along with a letter sent to him in 1876. Captain Hubert V. Rime of the Missing Persons Department of NYPD attempted to track down the man's identity, but all leads were dead ends. It wasn't until he spoke with Fentz's widow that he learned the truth. Rudolph Fentz Sr. had disappeared in 1876 at the age of 29, and all efforts to locate him had been in vain. The description of his appearance and clothing matched that of the unidentified man found in Times Square, leading many to speculate that Fentz had somehow traveled through time. Russian experiments in the revival of organisms. The 1940 film Experiments in the Revival of Organisms documents Soviet research into the resuscitation of clinically dead organisms. The film features medical experiments including the revival of dogs that had been drained of blood and left for dead using a heart-lung machine. The authenticity of the film has been questioned, as some scientists claim that the experiments shown are not possible. Despite this, the film has been referenced in popular culture, and the bizarre and unsolved aspects of the experiments continue to intrigue people. Shadow people. The phenomenon of shadow people has long fascinated believers in the paranormal and supernatural. These beings are perceived as humanoid figures made up of patches of shadow and are often interpreted as the presence of spirits or other entities. Many legends and belief systems describe supernatural entities, such as shades of the underworld, and various shadowy creatures have been a staple of folklore and ghost stories throughout history. One of the earliest modern discussions of shadow people occurred on the Coast to Coast AM radio talk show in 2001. The show featured a Native American elder, Thunderstrikes, who claimed that he had seen these figures. Listeners were encouraged to submit their own drawings of shadow people, and a large number of these were shared on the show's website. Since then, shadow people have become a popular topic of discussion in online forums and paranormal communities. Some believers and paranormal authors describe shadow people as menacing, while others believe that they may be helpful or neutral. Some even speculate that shadow people may be the extra-dimensional inhabitants of another universe. Some paranormal investigators and authors claim to have recorded images of shadow people on video. One figure that is often associated with shadow people is the Hat Man. This urban legend shares many characteristics with shadow people, but is typically depicted as wearing dark clothing and an old-style fedora hat. Scientific explanations for shadow people include physiological and psychological conditions such as sleep paralysis, heightened emotion, and the effects of deliriant substances. Shadow people have also appeared in various forms of popular culture, including books, films, and video games. Some depictions portray them as deadly, while others suggest that they may be misunderstood or even helpful. Sky-Snag Theory itself is just one video within an enormous rabbit hole or complexity and confusion. The video itself seems to be discussing the phenomenon of saucer-shaped rips that occasionally appear in the sky when the air is tearing itself apart.
Metallic disc. Not all flying saucers are from outer space. The sky will occasionally snag on itself, leaving a saucer-shaped rip.
These rips create a concave surface with an inherent polish, which can resemble a metallic disc or flying saucer. The video suggests that not all flying saucers are from outer space and that some may simply be the result of these sky rips, suggesting that UFOs could be the result of a chemical reaction in the air. According to this theory, whenever two conflicting airwaves collide at great speeds or in a crosswind, the friction that is produced between them can cause trace particles in the air to start to accumulate and form an expanding aluminum sphere. This sphere, which is essentially a snowball of trace metals and particles, could appear as a UFO to observers on the ground. What's interesting about this theory is that it raises the possibility that people or agencies could potentially induce UFO sightings by releasing trace elements into the air and manipulating airstreams. The video repeats this information several times with slight variations in wording, and this theme of dabbling on potentially advanced scientific terms and concepts is recurring on the entire channel of GX Jupiter Lawson. Looking into the rest of the videos, most of them seem to be random titles, clips, and sounds. Looking further into the creator's linked social medias, it seems to be an eccentric artist and musician that has a unique taste. The individual continues to upload new content to their YouTube, website, and Bandcamp, and their website seems to be riddled with confusing links. The complete incoherence of much of the website and content could very easily lead some to believe there are hidden messages, or perhaps this is some sort of alternate reality game. Solid light phenomena. Optical phenomena have long fascinated scientists and laypeople alike. These strange and often beautiful events occur when light interacts with matter, resulting in a range of effects that are both subtle and striking. While some optical phenomena, such as the rainbow, are well understood, others remain a mystery. One of the most bizarre optical phenomena is the green ray. This rare event occurs when the sun or moon is just below the horizon, and a brief, intense burst of green light is visible. The green ray is so elusive that many people believe it to be a myth, but scientists have confirmed its existence. Another strange optical effect is the Fata Morgana. This phenomenon occurs when light is refracted by layers of air with different temperatures, causing an object to appear distorted or displaced. Fata Morganas are often seen over bodies of water, where the temperature gradient is most pronounced. Perhaps the most perplexing optical phenomenon is the moon illusion. When the moon is low on the horizon, it appears much larger than when it is high in the sky. While scientists have proposed a number of explanations for this effect, including the size constancy theory and the angle of regard theory, none of them fully account for the illusion. Other optical phenomena are simply fascinating to observe. The colors generated by a prism, for example, are often displayed in classrooms as a demonstration of the properties of light. The double rainbow, a rare event in which two concentric rainbows appear in the sky, is also a popular sight.
What does this mean?
Starlight composition. The world of science is full of mysteries, and one of the most fascinating is the case of starlight, a heat-resistant material with incredible potential applications. Developed by Maurice Ward, an amateur chemist and hairdresser from Hartlepool, starlight was first demonstrated on the BBC's Tomorrow's World in 1990, and it quickly captured the world's imagination. The demonstration showed a raw egg painted with starlight remaining raw even when subjected to the heat of a blowtorch. This incredible heat-resistant property had the potential to be used in a wide range of applications, from fire protection for skyscrapers to spacecraft heat shields. Tests by defense scientists in both the UK and the USA confirmed the abilities of starlight, but the exact formula remained a mystery. Ward was notoriously secretive about the composition of starlight, revealing only that it contained over 20 chemicals, mostly carbon-based, along with some ceramic material. This secrecy made it difficult for manufacturers to reproduce starlight, and Ward was unable to strike a deal with any manufacturer before his death in 2011. In 2013, an American company called ThermoShield claimed to have acquired the rights to starlight, but to date, no products have been brought to market. This has left many wondering whatever happened to starlight and why it has not been more widely adopted. Some theories suggest that the secrecy around starlight's formula may have made it difficult for manufacturers to replicate, leading to a lack of interest in the material. Others have speculated that the incredible heat-resistant properties of starlight may have been exaggerated or that it may have had limitations that were not immediately apparent. Toronto Protocol. This is the name of a document created by Serge Monast, a Canadian investigative journalist and conspiracy theorist. It proposes a plan to establish a new world order by infiltrating media, culture, and education to promote a world society of leisure focused on sex, drugs, sports, travel, and leisure activities. The plan involves creating offices of child protection to remove parental authority and indoctrinate young people in internationalist principles, abolishing religion and history in the education system, and promoting sexual freedom to reduce individuals and the masses to the obsession of satisfying their primal instincts. The ultimate goal is to break down the family, education system, and society, leaving individuals susceptible to manipulation and control. The plan involves infiltrating all levels of society, including politics, economics, education, and social policy, to establish a centralized government and eliminate individual responsibility. The plan also includes buying or eliminating individuals who may pose a threat to the New World Order and ensuring control over all international organizations. In 1995 and 1996, Serge Monast claimed he was being hunted by police for involvement in prohibited information networks. His 2 homeschooled children were taken away and made wards of the state in September 1996. Monast died of a heart attack in his home in December 1996, the day after being arrested and spending a night in jail. His followers suggest his death was suspicious and that he was possibly assassinated by psychotronic weapons to prevent him from continuing his investigations. Oumuamua case. In 1965, Spanish UFO researchers received letters and phone calls claiming to be from an extraterrestrial race from the planet Oumuamua. The letters contained detailed information on physics and medicine that could not have been written by a lay hoaxer, and one letter predicted a UFO sighting that actually occurred. The Oumuamua aliens claimed to have arrived on Earth in 1950 in response to a weak signal sent into space by a Norwegian ship in 1934. They even claimed to have built an underground base in France and isolated cities like those seen in District 9. 2 additional sightings occurred in Madrid in 1966 and 1967, with clear photos of a flying saucer with the Oumuamua symbol taken during the second incident. Though later labeled a hoax, the photographer stands by the photos. The book, Oumuamua and the Extraterrestrial Papers, includes exchanges between an Earthling and an alien named Mr. X discussing the technical prowess of gray aliens, the seeding of Earth by superior alien forces, and the ability of aliens to exist outside of normal space/time. USS Nimitz Incident. The USS Nimitz Tic Tac incident is one of the most bizarre and perplexing encounters with an unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, that has been reported by the military. In November 2004, the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group was conducting training exercises off the coast of Southern California when they encountered an object that they described as a tic tac due to its shape. According to the eyewitness accounts of several Navy pilots and radar operators, the Tic Tac was flying at an incredibly high speed and was able to make sudden and drastic movements that were unlike anything they had ever seen before. The pilots attempted to intercept the object but were unable to keep up with its speed and maneuverability. One of the most remarkable aspects of the incident is the fact that the Tic Tac was able to jam the radar and communication systems of the fighter jets that were attempting to track it. This suggests that the object possessed some kind of advanced technology that is beyond what is currently known or understood by modern science. The incident was classified as unidentified by the military and was investigated by the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, a secret Pentagon program that was created to study UAPs. Despite extensive investigations and analyses, no definitive explanation has been provided for the nature or origin of the Tic Tac. Some have speculated that the Tic Tac could be an advanced military craft developed by a foreign country, while others have suggested that it could be extraterrestrial in origin. However, without more concrete evidence, it remains an unsolved mystery that continues to baffle scientists, military personnel, and UFO enthusiasts alike. Virus 23. This is the name of a terrifying concept. The text is a warning about an affect that is triggered by thinking about the words, Virus 23. The concept presented in this text is a warning about a neurolinguistic trap triggered by the subvocalization of the words. According to the text, the bits of phonetic information stored within these words infiltrate the mind in a way similar to how a computer virus might infect an artificially intelligent machine. Once the words take hold in the mind, they germinate into an expanding array of icy tendrils, insinuating themselves deeply into the architecture of the reader's thoughts. The text suggests that the consequences of this infection are not immediately obvious, but the reader may find themselves thinking of certain subcultural terms such as cyberpunk and new age, which may then lead to thoughts of neo-Gnosticism and memetics. The text warns that this invasive crystallization continues indefinitely against the reader's will until their mind has become no more than an unwitting agent of the propagation of these ideas. The text suggests that there is no cure or escape from this infection and that the reader has no thought that is not already controlled by the words of this trap. The warning suggests that once the reader has finished reading the remaining 19 words, the process of irreversible infection will be completed, and they will depart, believing themselves largely unaffected by this process. The implications of this bizarre concept are unsettling and thought-provoking. Wetiko. The Native Americans have long believed in the existence of a virus that plagues human consciousness, a virus called Wetiko. According to their mythology, this virus of selfishness feeds off our indulgent and self-destructive habits, driving us towards self-destruction. But Wetiko is not just a Native American concept. It has been recognized in other spiritual traditions, and modern-day psychiatrists like Carl Jung have written about it as well. Wetiko is a cannibalizing force that operates through the unconscious blind spots in the human psyche. It renders people oblivious to their own madness and compels them to act against their own best interests. It is a disease of the soul that pervades and informs the underlying field of consciousness. As such, we all potentially have Wetiko within us, as it drives us towards insatiable greed, appetite without satisfaction, consumption as an end in itself, and war for its own sake against other tribes, species, and nature, and even against our own humanity. The danger of Wetiko is that it is highly contagious and spreads through shared consciousness, feeding on our unconscious blind spots. It is a psychic form of blindness that leads us astray and transforms truth to falsehood, making us forgetful of our own sanity. The virus is so insidious that it disguises itself as a good spirit, and like a werewolf, it can shapeshift into various forms. When people are infected with Wetiko, they become like a psychic tapeworm that feeds off their own brains and tricks them into believing that their actions are only empowering themselves. To deal with Wetiko, we must first recognize it, acknowledge it, and name it. We must snap out of our denial and see the disease for what it is, a disease of the soul that infects us all. Once we understand how it operates, we can strengthen our psychological immune system and protect ourselves from the virus. We can learn to identify and heal our unconscious blind spots and cultivate a deeper awareness of our own thoughts and actions. We can also draw on insights from spiritual traditions and personal experience to help us awaken from the collective psychosis that has gripped humanity.
The next video published will cover the final layer of this iceberg. We hope you've enjoyed the ride.